Everyone thought the story had ended. The hotel video, they said, was the final chapter. But no one could have predicted what would unfold inside that courtroom. Chrissy did not break down. She did not try to defend herself. Instead, she lifted her chin, locked eyes with the judge, and delivered a truth so heavy it silenced the entire room. This was not a fleeting mistake. Her voice steady, she confessed. I loved Cameron. It was real. Total silence swallowed the room. Jim sat frozen, unblinking, as if the woman standing there was someone else entirely, someone wearing his fiancé's face like a mask. Mama Jones let out a gut-wrenching scream. The judge's pen slipped from his fingers in disbelief. And Cameron? Posted up in the back, arms folded, calm like he had already lived this moment in his head. This was not a leak. This was not a scene for TV ratings. This was a detonation. And Chrissy? She lit the fuse. No lights, no rehearsals, no edits. Just the brutal honesty of a courtroom unraveling. What followed only added fuel to the fire. 2 more video clips, a hidden email chain, and a desperate voicemail. Chrissy's voice pleading with Mona Scott to erase the footage. But the damage had already been done. The truth was not just out there, it was streaming in high definition, frame by frame. And what she said next shattered whatever illusions were left. Flashback to the courtroom. The tension was thick, the air heavy. Chrissy rose to her feet, her hands trembling, mascara streaking down her cheeks, lips quivering. The judge had asked a routine question. Miss Lampin, before we move forward with the evidence, is there anything else you wish to disclose under oath? No one expected a response, not even her attorney. But Chrissy leaned in, adjusted the microphone, and with a shaky breath, turned toward Jim. What she said next tore the room in two. This was never just a moment. I was in a full relationship with Cameron. Not a fling. Not a one-night mistake. A real, layered secret connection. Burner phones, late-night voicemails, hidden messages, deleted texts. This was betrayal wrapped in silence, finally unleashed in a single, undeniable truth. She said it like she had nothing left to bury, like the guilt had already chewed through everything worth protecting. There was no panic in her voice, no tears for sympathy. Just the calm of someone who had already lost everything and stopped pretending otherwise. Jim? He said nothing. Not a single word. It was like someone pulled the plug on him. One moment he was Jim Jones, the Harlem icon, Dipset's anchor, the street-certified ride-or-die loyalist. And the next, just a man sitting in a courtroom, silently unraveling while the woman he once built an empire with set it all on fire. You could feel the air change. Even the court clerk looked like she had seen something supernatural. And 2 rows back, Cameron, cool, behind dark shades, head tilted just enough, looked almost unsurprised, like this was a scene he had rehearsed. Maybe he had, because if we are honest, none of this really came out of nowhere. Remember that USB leak last month? Everyone thought it was a teaser. Turns out it was a warning shot. That grainy clip of Chrissy slipping into the Marin Hotel at 9:13 p.m., hood over her head. Reggie's face at the door, wine glasses on the nightstand, dim lights, that whispered conversation where she said she felt like she was suffocating in someone else's life. But it was not Reggie in that clip. That was Cameron. Yes, Cam, Jim's. Old Dipset brother, former Day One, the same man who stood beside him and raised a glass at his engagement party. And Chrissy? She sat in court and owned it, unapologetically. No gasps, no chaos, just stillness, cold and sharp. Mama Jones shot up from her seat so fast the bailiff had to restrain her, her eyes wild, her voice echoing, "You snake, you snake, you ruined my son." Chrissy never even blinked. No tears, no regret, just exhaustion. Not from heartbreak, but from carrying a truth that was finally too heavy to keep hidden. She told the judge she had more. Screenshots, boarding passes, burner phone photos. Receipts, in every sense. And not to start drama, but to finish the story. She called it unfinished truth. But it only spiraled further when Jim's lawyer, who had been completely silent, leaned into the microphone and spoke for the first time. "Your Honor, Based on this new admission, we are filing an immediate motion for fraud, emotional abuse, and brand sabotage. Brand sabotage. Because this was no ordinary betrayal. This was a torpedo aimed directly at everything they had built together. This was not just a love story unraveling, it was the collapse of an empire. The Jim and Chrissy brand was a full-blown enterprise. Reality show spin-offs, lucrative endorsements, podcast features, merch lines, even tabloid wedding speculation that raked in ratings. But now, the entire empire was in freefall. Why? Because the foundation was not just cracked, it was fabricated. Chrissy, the supposed ride or die, sat in open court and whispered loyalty to Cam, Jim's once brother, his former partner in rhyme. How did it come to this? Insiders say Reggie was never the beginning. Cam was not either. The fracture started deeper, with resentment. Chrissy, according to behind-the-scenes reports, felt erased. She wanted her own lane, her own spotlight. She allegedly told producers, "I am not just part of his story, I am building my own." That was the turning point. That was when Cam slid back into the frame. Whether it was for revenge, solace, or strategic gain, her affair with Cam was no fleeting mistake. Court records detail at least 8 secret meetups over 2 years. Everything from quiet hotel stays to anonymous dinner bookings, even a few private jet logs, and that infamous USB, just the beginning. Cam's legal team now claims they hold 2 more videos, plus a recorded voicemail where Chrissy pleads with Mona Scott, "Cam cannot find out. He'll use it. Please erase the footage." And yes, Cam released that too. So where was Jim in all this? Publicly silent. But inside the courtroom, witnesses say his hands trembled beneath the table, that his lawyer slipped him a stress ball, that he never once looked at Chrissy. And really, how could he? This was not just cheating. This was the most intimate kind of betrayal, his enemy becoming her confidant. The man he once toured the country with now held every secret she refused to share at home. And now, the world did too. But the most chilling moment came at the end of Chrissy's testimony. The judge asked if anyone had final submissions before recess. And from the shadows, Cameron's lawyer rose, brown folder in hand. "We have more footage, and it is dated." He said it softly, but the weight of those words sucked the air from the room. The judge, visibly tightening in his posture, nodded without pause. "Submit it to the clerk." Even the bailiff moved like he was handling something volatile, because in truth he was. That folder was not paperwork. It was TNT. And Chrissy? For the first time, her expression cracked, just slightly. Her lips trembled. Her eyes dropped, as if she knew exactly what tape was coming. The judge opened the folder, slid out a USB, and with no hesitation told both sides, "I want this played now. No delays." Cam's lawyer gave a quiet nod. Jim's lawyer remained still. But Chrissy's attorney leaned into her, whispering with urgent panic, because the truth was no longer approaching. It had arrived, unfiltered, undeniable, and ready to play. Chrissy gave a small shake of the head. "No, it's okay," she said softly. "Let it play." The screen dropped down, the projector flickered to life, and then came silence. Just a low, static hum before the screen lit up. There she was, Chrissy, sitting inside a studio trailer, barefaced, hair wrapped, her voice calm but cutting through like glass. "I'm not stupid. I know Jim is loyal," she said. "But loyalty doesn't cure boredom. Cam? He makes me feel something. And Mona knows if this gets out, I'm finished." Then, another voice, off camera, clear and familiar. It was Yandy Smith. "Girl, you're playing with fire," she warned. "You know Cam hates him. If this blows up, it's not just messy, it's war." Chrissy took a slow sip of her drink. And then came the line, the one that shattered what was left of the courtroom's breath. "I already got caught once," she admitted. "I talked my way out of it. But Cam?" He just leaned back with a smirk, because this wasn't about Jim anymore. This was the slow, deliberate collapse of an entire brand, crumbling under the weight of its own secrets. One confession at a time, and that folder Cam's lawyer carried, it still wasn't empty. As the judge rose to call recess, Cam's attorney stepped forward and placed one last piece on the record, a text log from a burner phone traced back to Reggie. The final message read, "If the clip drops, she'll deny it, but I'm done covering for her. Let Cam take it. Let them all burn." Those 30 minutes of recess felt like an eternity. No one dared leave the courtroom. They lingered, whispered, stared at Chrissy like she had morphed from reality TV star into something far more raw, something real. Jim? He kept his eyes down, not even a glance at the judge, or the press, or Mama Jones, who sat behind him clutching a tissue like it was the last fragile thread holding her together, and Cam, still, silent, unreadable. He did not blink, he did not gloat. He just sat there with the calm of a man who knew how the story ended, and that when the credits rolled, his name would be the last one still standing. As court resumed, the atmosphere was so tense it felt like even a whisper would shatter the room. The judge returned, placed his documents on the bench, and got straight to the point. "We will now examine the final piece of evidence," he announced. A series of text messages retrieved from a burner, phone linked to an individual named Reggie. He read aloud, each word dragging the air down like lead. She said, "If the clip drops, she'll deny it. But I'm done protecting her. Let Cam have it. Let them all burn." And then he read the second message. One the world had never seen, one that Chrissy believed had been buried forever. "She used me to get under Jim's skin, said Dipset was finished, wanted to feel power for once, said Cam made her feel like royalty. I was just a prop." Gasps echoed across the room. A woman in the second row clamped both hands over her mouth in shock. Mama Jones broke again, whispering, a shattered "oh my God" through trembling lips. But Chrissy? Still a statue. No tears, no breakdown, no excuses. The judge looked her straight in the eye. "Ms. Lannon, were you aware of these messages?" She nodded slowly. "I am now. Do you deny what they say?" Chrissy closed her eyes. A long pause, then, barely audible, "No." That was the moment Jim's lawyer stood again, voice calm, but edged with purpose. "Your Honor, with the court's permission, we would like to submit one additional document, a contract signed by Mr. Jones and Ms. Lannon, outlining joint ownership of their forthcoming Netflix docuseries. The agreement contains clauses related to brand equity, emotional portrayal, and exclusivity, which we now believe have been breached. Because if the contract was authentic, and Chrissy had violated its terms while filming a series designed to showcase their eternal love, this was no longer just a personal implosion. This was calculated betrayal wrapped in legal consequences. The judge scanned the pages carefully, then looked up with a single, pointed question. "Ms. Lampkin, were you romantically involved with Mr. Giles Cameron during the planning and promotion of this docuseries?" Chrissy inhaled deeply, holding on to the weight of what was coming. Then she said the words that would be quoted for years. "Yes, I was. And I knew if Jim ever found out, it would all fall apart. That was it. No, more speculation. No grainy videos. No whispers behind closed doors. The truth had walked out of her mouth and into history. The affair with Cam had not only been real, it had started before the cameras rolled, before the contract was signed, before the tearful reunion episode where she claimed she was committed to healing and growing. She had lied. On camera. And now, under oath. This was the same man who once told the world, "Chrissy saved my life." And now, he did not rise. He did not lash out. He simply whispered, "I knew it," almost as if he was speaking to the ghost of his past self. Then Jim stood up and walked out, quietly, without a bodyguard, without a press team, without even a glance back. Just a man leaving the ashes of a world he once believed in. No theatrics, no farewell speech, just silence trailing behind him like smoke from something that had burned far too long. The judge looked over the room, saw what was left, and calmly, called for a 5-minute recess. But for VH1, the damage had already taken root, and it was spreading fast. Within minutes of Chrissy's unfiltered confession reaching the media, brand sponsors began backing out. Then came the leaks, damning emails, blurred out screenshots from panicked group chats between producers. One read, "Mona's vanished. Radio silence, she might be out." Another message hit harder. "If this footage airs, we're facing lawsuits stacked to the ceiling." Then came the real gut punch. An anonymous post from a former VH1 editor detonated across social platforms. You think this was just reality TV? Nah, this was engineered heartbreak. They sold Jim a fantasy of love for ratings, and Chrissy played her part until she stopped needing the script. By sundown, the hashtag #SARS Chrissy Confession hit a jaw-dropping 7 million views. Clips of her courtroom admission were everywhere, looping on TikTok with haunting piano tracks, glitched transitions, and captions like, "He gave her forever. She gave him content." That night, Cameron went live, black hoodie, dim lighting, no theatrics. Just one sentence, "Told y'all she wasn't built for him." Then he logged off. The live stream crossed 3.2 million views in under 60 minutes. Mona Scott finally broke her silence with a terse clinical statement. "I had no knowledge of Miss Lampkin's off-camera actions. I am fully cooperating with legal authorities." But her words rang hollow. By then, former interns, assistant producers, even runners were speaking out, exposing old footage, unearthing buried emails, and peeling back the illusion of the show's polished narrative. The curtain was falling, and behind it, chaos. There was one scene people could not stop dissecting. A now infamous cut from the Netflix series showed Jim asking, clear as day, "Chrissy, do you still love me?" She replied without hesitation, "More than anything." But now, fans are revisiting the clip with a different lens. They noticed how her eyes darted left right after, like she was searching for approval, like she needed a signal, like it was scripted. Then the editor confessed something that shattered the illusion even more. They had cut her follow-up whisper, off camera, "I hope that's enough for now." And just like that, the fairy tale crumbled. What had been sold as raw, ride-or-die romance now felt like a precision-crafted mirage. The relationship that carried VH1's brand for years? Turns out, it was edited into existence. Jim, blindsided, and gutted, vanished from public view. His team broke the silence with a short message. No interviews, no appearances. He is focusing on therapy, solitude, and safeguarding what remains of his peace. Chrissy? Nothing but silence.